How to stay top of mind. Hey, I'm Donnie Bovian, the CEO and founder of Success Champion Networking and author of Fuck to Focus. This is Growth Mode, a podcast all about growing and scaling your business. Hanging out with me, as always, is the introverted Kevin Snow, the sales and automation tactician and genius. In this episode, we're going to talk about why you should stay top of mind and how to actually do it. So, man, I can tell you, I didn't understand that's what I was doing early in my sales career, keeping myself top of mind. But I realized quickly the benefits of actually doing it. And it came about when I was working on, I think it was Home Depot. I was going after them from a commercial printing account. And I was constantly, checking in with them, once every other week or so. And, I kept reminding them, hey, I'm not trying to push anything. I just want to make sure we're on the list. If you guys ever have anything breaks, one of your vendors can't follow through, please, let us know. And I literally would, reach out to these guys to keep that position going on a regular basis. And it was interesting, about 6 months of doing that, on one of my check-in calls, the purchaser that I've always bought from, Mike, he called in. He goes, you know what? I've been meaning to call you. Can you guys do X? And I don't remember. I think it was just, business cards or postcards. It's a small project. And I didn't care what he was asking. He could ask if I freaking could print it on freaking molten lava, and I would have said yes at this point, because we knew how much business was there. And he goes, his exact words were, our current vendor dropped the ball and they can't get them out by the date we need them to. Can you guys make this happen? And it was absolutely, 100% we could do this. And, that's how I landed the Home Depot account, was literally just keeping myself and staying top of mind. And I think for you guys in this episode, we're going to talk a lot about how do you stay top of mind, not only with your clients, but also with your prospects, with your referral network and the likes. Kevin, how do you want to stir this one up?
I think this is really a hard concept for a lot of business people to comprehend. So, and they don't understand how to separate the corporate brand from their personal brand, and why it's really important to have that personal brand where people are seeing you and hearing you and being exposed to you on a regular basis. Because I know when I relaunched Time on Target after I got back from the deployment, I didn't want a personal brand at all, because I didn't want to be the product. I wanted Time on Target to be the brand, and I really focus on branding that as opposed to branding me. And then as my company readjusted and we continued to niche down and do stuff, then I came back to like, well, fuck, now I got to be a brand again. And I need to be, as we talk about being the voice of the company. So being that top of mind.
Well, some of us think about being the face of the company because we look good, but you go ahead and be the voice of your company.
That's all right. Some of us should think about being the voice of their company instead of the face of their company, to be honest. But that being top of mind is really key. And I was really good at it with my networking partners, but I wasn't top of mind in the general world. I wasn't doing stuff that people were thinking about me. One of my friends in this, I was at my buddy's house over the weekend. We're doing some shopping for some home improvement stuff I'm doing, and swimming and playing with the God kids and all that stuff. And he made the comments like, I don't see you. You're not doing like business stuff on Facebook anymore. I'm like, oh, my non-business friend who's never actually going to utilize my services. And he owns businesses, just nothing I'd ever work with. It is like, yeah, I'm not seeing any of your businessy stuff anymore. I'm like, well, crap. Obviously, I need to change what I'm doing on Facebook. So, that being top of mind, people notice when you disappear. They will recognize, oh, you're not there doing stuff. So it has to really be this conscious effort of how you're doing it and what you're doing to stay top of mind, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember a buddy of mine, Chad King. I mean, he's probably the biggest bourbon rum connoisseur I knew. I mean, this guy really knows his shit. But he always has an event every year at his office where it's, you got to bring a badass bottle to get in the door type of thing. And, this particular event that I went to, I remember walking in and there was a gentleman there that I didn't know. But when I walked up and introduced myself, he goes, "I know who the fuck you are." He goes, "I can't turn on LinkedIn without your fucking face and videos and content popping up and blowing up my feed." And I'm like, "Is that a good or a bad thing?" He goes, "The jury's still out." I said, "Fair enough." I said, "But if you don't want to see it, what you have to do," I said, means you got to quit liking and commenting and clicking and watching my stuff." He goes, "Well, I didn't say I wanted to turn it off." I said, "Okay, so it is a good thing." And, but I think, for a lot of us, there is a duality in brands. There is the company brand, there's a personal brand, there's the duality of mindset for people because a lot of people show up as work as one person, as home as another person, which I totally preach against. There's the idea of, what's the end game with your business and what do you want to do it. People say you can't sell a personal brand, but you can only sell, a company brand, those type of things. And here's the thing, here's my philosophy. There's only one thing you can take with you no matter where you go in this world, and that is your personal brand. And that's the most valuable thing you have on this planet, period. Now, with that said, without a company brand, you don't have business. You take somebody like Tony Robbins, who's got, I think it's like 63 companies to the tune of $5 billion. Everybody knows Tony and they don't know the business brands unless you're doing business in those business brands. And then he's got the dual brands going very well. But Tony's been able to build his empire based off of his personal brand. Love him or hate him, he's done a lot of very cool things, as have a lot of these influencers in the marketplace. And, they've positioned themselves very, very well. But people tend to get focused on both sides of the track. They get focused on, well, I need to build my company up. I know, like when I was with Sandler Training, it was always a point of discussion, I should say, with me and Sandler Corporate over me. They always wanted us to push the Sandler brand, and I didn't give a shit about the Sandler brand. People weren't buying Sandler, they were buying me and then getting Sandler. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. So I think for a lot of people, that the idea is the whole point here is you want to get the phone call when it matters. When people hear about somebody using your services or businesses, or when people hear about your industry, your niche, or they're looking to be connected with somebody, you want to be the guy or gal that gets that damn phone call because you've kept yourself top of mind. And, like I said, it wasn't something I always understood, man. But once I learned it, I made it a freaking art form of making sure I could get there and actually be top of mind.
Yeah, I think you have to be a really large brand to have your corporate brand be top of mind. Like a Nike, a Pepsi, a Coca-Cola. You
Yeah.
have to have that size of brand
Great
to
point.
allow
Great
your
point.
corporate brand to drive the interaction. No one searches for the Mountain Dew CEO. They search for Mountain Dew when they want to interact with the brand.
Right.
No one is going to, none of us have a brand where people are searching for our corporate name, our business name. Not, no one's searching for time on target unless they already know me and they know that's my company. Same with Success Champions. They don't
Yep.
search for that unless they know you or me. And, whereas for Pepsi, it's Pepsi. Nike, it's Nike. Is it Nike or Nike? Nike.
Nike. Nike. Nike. It's definitely Nike because that's the god.
Adidas. Yeah.
But when you know them as well as Kevin
Hey,
does, they're
Nike.
just Nike.
We just call him Nick for short. When we're floating around in
Yeah.
the clouds, it's just Nick. Hey, Nick. So, but that's the thing. If you don't have that big of a brand, they spent billions of dollars generating a brand that's big that they can do that. You need to be the one that's out front. You need to be staying top of mind. People need to be thinking about you as the individual.
that's why you've got to be doing the things. And I think there's, a couple major areas that will help you stay top of mind at all times and allow you to get the phone call when the time matters. And I think the most badass maneuver of all times to make sure you get the phone call is to freaking open doors for everybody else first. Make the first move, make the introductions, get people to the people they need to meet so they can get into the right conversations, so they can get into the right business deals. And I promise, if you open the right doors for people, they will never, ever forget you. It's a matter of getting into that ideal client, that ideal, synergy partner, whatever. That first opening doors will do miraculous things to keep you top of
Yeah,
mind.
and it builds up that understanding of for people that you know people and that you are a hub and that you are the one if they need something they need to call you because even if you don't do it, you know who to call. And that was always really fun for me being that center where I'd have people just call me up out of the blue. It's like, hey Kevin, this is Bill. I know you know everyone. We're looking for this. Who do you know? And being that person, the gateway, who could say, yeah, you need to go talk to Troy, or you need to go talk to Michelle. She is amazing at this stuff. And being able to, everyone thinks about you. And then you could say, well, yeah, actually, we can help you with that. Really? Yeah. Well, let's talk. Cool. Awesome. And now you have a client because they already trust you because you always give them good people. So you must be good people yourself.
Dude, I love the phrase that you just said, and I wrote it down, is you are a hub. And I think that's just the coolest way to think about it is you're the person that can get people to the people. And if you become that, you become one of the most valuable assets for people as they're building their businesses because you're the hub. You're the person that gets a phone call because you have the connections, you have the relationships and the likes. That that's a very cool way of saying a lot of what you and I teach to people about being out there and you know being that top of mind person. And I think the second thing to stay on top of mind, being that hub, is show up. You got to put yourself out there to really be the face of your company. I mean, so for some of you, some of the things I'm going to suggest for you to get your face and name out there, you're going to fucking hate. But I truly believe that if you're in sales and you're not getting on stages and you're not speaking in front of groups of people, you are missing out on one hell of an opportunity to get your name and or brand out there. Same thing with podcasts, and the likes, because you need to be seen as an industry expert. The person that your clients are looking for. That means going to the conferences and trade shows in your industry. It means showing up at networking events where your people hang out at. You have got to put yourself out there, and that includes social media. I mean, one of the craziest platforms for business right now is LinkedIn. I mean, that platform has finally become a professional business networking app and not just a resume app. And there's so much opportunity to show up there. And Kevin's done a really cool job for an introvert of getting himself out there on a shit ton of podcasts, which is not easy. He takes a nap
No,
after
I
every one of
don't.
them, but you know, but it's a lot of work, of course, doing all the social media, getting on stage, podcasts, everything. But man,
And
you
I
got to show
think
the hell
and
up.
social media was on my list I wanted to talk about for, being top of mind. You have to, for me, I had them separated. I had LinkedIn that anyone could be contact with me on and all my clients could everything. But then Facebook I had it locked down. Because I had this idea that I didn't necessarily want all my business clients interacting with all my army friends, and then all my family, and having that chaos that ensues with that. And I've now pretty much, if someone interacts with me and they've on there and asks to be my friend, and I've had some sort of interaction with them either through Success Champions, Time on Target, the military, there's been personal interaction, then you get in. And I'm doing it now because now my clients and my members in SCN now get into my world and they see my stuff. And now, and I still, it's not all business. I do a ton of food stuff. I still do occasional army meme that's probably inappropriate for most civilians, but it's funny for all my veteran friends, and stuff like that. But they now get into your world, and it allows you to be more approachable, and you're not just a brand anymore. You're now a person. And one of the things I'm doing, which is going to be interesting to see how it grows, is that Ask Me Anything event that you and I are both doing now on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. One of my prior battalion commanders marked that he's attending this week, so I don't know how that's going to go. So it should be
Cool.
interesting. He has a really dry sense of humor, so it should be interesting thing if he actually shows up. But having people, it's like, oh, I'm coming to your thing. I'm like, okay, sweet. Oh, I would rather have these be more business Ask Me Anything, but all right, we'll see how this goes. So, but it's stuff like that, doing, jumping on doing quick lives. Ariel does a bunch of those, one of our members, and things like that, where you just put yourself out there, you talk about stuff and you leave it, and then you see what kind of impact you get. But it really brings people into your world and keeps you in front of them. So even if you're not having a call with them that week, they still see you.
Yeah, another thing that I think that people should really embrace, and I'm wrapping my head around this one more and more as I continue to say it, I think you really need to be the best at what you do, like the best in the game. And this isn't about having an ego. This isn't about vanity or being cocky. It's, you need to have so much passion, drive, energy about what you do, so much knowledge about what you do, that you're the best in the game, and have the confidence and the ability to stand there knowing that you're the best in the game. Now, it's not saying you're not learning this shit and still growing. This is saying that you believe you do this better than anybody else, because that confidence comes through as long as it's not done in a cocky, maniacal way. The people that are not the best in the game are the ones that constantly want to tell you they're the best in the game. The true people who are the best in the game have this humble quietness to them of knowing that nobody can touch them, but they also show up as the best in the game, but there's still a portion of them that believes there's more work to be done to figure this out. But you take, from the best Super Bowl quarterbacks to the, richest people that have built monster companies, they know they're the best at what they do. They're just not going to necessarily tell you that. But that's one of the driving key forces to stay top of mind, because when you're the best, everybody else is chasing and gunning for you. Everybody else ends up talking about you because of how well and how creative and how awesome you're showing up and doing things. And when you're the best, everybody starts talking about and using you as their thing to prove what makes them better. And I'll go back to my days of commercial printing when one of my competitors called me up and asked me to quit going after particular accounts because I was taking all their business. So they actually started making up things and telling people about me and my company and what we did, trying to earn the business back, but it only hurt them more because now they were bad mouthing another company in the industry. Nobody wanted to do business with them. But when you're the best, people come gunning for you, and that's when you're doing right things, and it's a cool way to stay top of mind.
Yeah, it was funny when I was selling the Nextel stuff. I was working for one of the indirect agents, so we were a partner, and I stole 2 or 3 accounts from one of the direct reps, a specific direct rep, and there was no intention of doing it. It just happened. I walked into a bunch of his accounts, and they weren't happy, and I took them over and started selling them stuff. And he called me. He literally called me and told me to stop, to give his accounts back. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's
give his accounts back.
I'm like, no, I don't work for Nextel. There's no rules that saying that we can't steal from you if we can do the job better. Yeah. If you want your accounts back, win them back. And he wasn't happy. And so I'm like, I'll go talk to the general manager. Go ahead. We're their biggest partner. They're not going to say anything to us. They just want phones sold. So
Yep. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is you've always got to be thinking about how do you get the call, whether it's helping somebody out, whether it's somebody looking for business, whether it's somebody looking for information. How do you keep yourself out there top of mind? And I think if you constantly open doors for people, you show up on stages, social media, put yourself out there, you get your brand out there, and you become the best, then you will always stay top of mind. And being top of mind builds empires, man. It builds business freedom and allows you to get where you want
yeah,
to go.
one of the things that we haven't talked about, and this really ties into a lot with the social media, is teach. If you're the best at
Yeah,
what you do, teach what you do. Teach all the stuff that you think is your
agreed.
secret sauce. And don't be afraid to put it out there, because that's what's going to get people following you and paying attention to you, is because you're helping them and you're teaching them stuff they need to know to run their business or to make their life better, depending on what you do. And it's funny how many people we have when we tell that to. They're like, "Oh no, I don't want them to be able to do it themselves." Why not?
Yeah. The DIYers are always going to be a pain in the ass anyways, but that's a great point. Is I think, life's not about the things you do. It's about the stories you can tell and teach later. And that's where all the greatness comes from is turning around and reaching and out and helping as many people as you possibly can. So great point, dude. So, as always, guys, if you got any tips, tricks, any value out of this episode, please make sure you're subscribed from wherever you're watching or listening to this. Leave us a 5-star review and share this out with one person that may need to see or get value from this show. And as always, love you, mean it. See you, bye.